Hello everybody, I'm Ard, and welcome to another episode of Ard Builds, where I strive to become a better Minecraft builder, and we're slowly getting there. Today we're adding on to my small waterfront area by expanding the road so I can get a better feel of the terrain in this area, and then we're going to build a small house. So the big thing that I learned this build was that I do not have a good scope of the sense of scale involved for larger builds currently. Because I thought building around the hill and putting a city behind this would actually be a pretty massive undertaking, would be a huge amount of time and a huge amount of buildings. And the reality is I put one house on the side here next to the warehouse and I'm already used up almost all of the space leading up to the hill. So I need to work on my sense of size and scale moving on in the future here. This little town area is going to be a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be at first glance when I picked out this area. It's almost too small. In addition to this, I also built my first custom tree. I'm not entirely happy with how it turned out, but it's a start. And then I also built a tunnel over this, which was the plan when I started when I dug this out, but I wanted to open it up first so that I could get an idea of what the area looked like without it covering it. I also underlaid the whole thing with stone to make it look a bit more stable. I think there's probably some things I can better do for framing to make this look a little bit more organic, but I'm actually pretty happy with how the interior of it turned out overall. Now, the house, this was a whole comedy of errors from beginning to end. Like, I had an idea of what I wanted to do when I started building this, because I wanted to build something that was fairly asymmetric, and while I accomplished that in the general layout and design, you can see from the three colors to the three general rooms I wanted to put in, it's still basically a line across. Like, it's not a straight box at least, but it's still just a single line area. I did go for vertical asymmetry as well on this. As you can see, there'll be steps up between the various floors, so that it is broken up a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked. But you got to start somewhere, right? So that was the first problem, was I meant to do that. The second one is right here where I'm laying down all this basalt. So when I start to do these builds, usually I generally start with just a sample wall somewhere so I can get a general idea of colors and what I want to do for gradient shifting or texture shifting or whatnot. And I messed this one up. I wanted to use basalt, but clearly what I actually wanted to use was the stone and the lapis ore at the bottom to do just a slight blue shift on that and make it a stone foundation on this. The basalt's still in there, I just put it in the wrong spot, which, you know, cost me some time and was kind of annoying to remove. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this house actually turned out, though, because this is a whole bunch of styles and patterns I haven't really tried before. Like, I did an actual design on the floor, I used walls as an inset for the windows. I was using diorite, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I don't hate it, honestly, if you mix it up with other colors and other shades. So I was pretty happy with how this turned out. The roof is not that dissimilar from the other roof that I did. It's a little more exaggerated in how the placement of some of the blocks go, and it's a little more random looking, but it's still kind of the same general design. I still need to kind of work on doing peaked houses at some point, because that's something I'm wildly unfamiliar with, but I'm getting slowly away from just flat roofs, so you got to start somewhere, right? I also didn't like the dark oak that I used here. I thought it was okay when I first laid it out, but as you can see when we come out of the time lapse here in a minute, it's been removed to do something more in line with the color scheme of the outside of the house. So that was yet another mistake that went into it. One of these days I probably should leave up my test build so you guys can see what I do before I go in, because I don't actually lay out a building because I'm already in creative. I don't do a pre-build or anything, but I do try to get at least an idea of what colors and blocks I'm going to be working with to save some time while I'm doing the build. But all the actual building is done on the fly. Like, I didn't design this beforehand. So, as promised, the roof is different. I replaced it with stone and andesite slabs instead, which gives it a slightly different shade on top, makes it a little bit darker on the top, and helps it stand out a bit. So I think that helped it without turning it like completely dark oak brown. I also did a bunch of landscaping outside. I added some decorations. I think I did okay with that. If we come to the back of the house, it's much more exaggerated, but it also kind of goes into the part where I screwed up the build a little bit, because I originally wanted to make this back room a tower, tower. I wanted to put like another floor up here so it would be a better view of the bay over here instead of being blocked by the warehouse. And frankly, I just forgot when it came time to put the roof on. But in looking over this and in landscaping and putting these bushes down here, I think I actually wanted to extend it down into the ground now too. So I might revisit this part of the build later. What I, however, did not do that I wanted to do was I wanted to put like a farm or a garden or something back here, but I couldn't get a clear picture in my head of what I wanted to do, so I just left it alone for now. Like I said, I'm probably going to end up revisiting this at some point, but I'm not quite there yet. Coming inside, you can see that I actually did do some decoration work. I didn't do a ton. I'm still lacking in this department of how to do interiors. I don't have a good feel for that yet. I'm still working on it. I did add some stairs. I created a basic kitchen type area here. I'm actually happy with the table, but like there's no chairs or anything to go with it. I don't actually know how to make that look good. But I'm kind of happy with the kitchen. It could be done a bit better. I also fronted the diorite walls with some trap doors to give it a bit more depth and make it kind of look more like an actual legend side, like a usable space. Coming back up here, I partitioned off the bedroom area with these trap doors to give it a different look and feel to help separate this room out. I may completely scrap that. I'm not entirely happy with how this looks. If anybody has any better ideas, I could certainly use some advice. This is the best. I tried all of the trapdoors, and this is the one that I'm most okay with right here, but it still just feels kind of wrong. It feels like a misuse of this space. I also, if I do turn this into a tower, I'm going to need spaces for like stairs or ladders up and down, probably stairs, because I don't actually like doing the ladder thing in here. But overall, I'm actually pretty happy with how this build turned out because, as I said, we've got to start somewhere with some of these concepts. And while this doesn't do a truly asymmetric build, I did create nooks and crannies and created some unique spots to put things. Again, I'm actually kind of happy with the path down here. I'm kind of learning from Hermitcraft, honestly, with using like wood to frame pathing and staircases. I'm still mostly a straight line here. I didn't break it up that much, but I'm kind of happy with the appearance. And I also went with lilac bushes because I think the purple like really super stands out versus like the warp trap doors up there that are slightly purple to give an accent without drawing the eye too strongly. So overall, I'm actually pretty happy with how this one turned out. You know, mistakes aside, overall I think it feels like it fits in, so I'm not too unhappy with the build. I don't quite have a story to attach to it, which is going to be a problem going forward here to make things look a bit more organic and like they actually fit in. Because like I said, I screwed up and I placed it right behind the warehouse and then didn't do the thing I intended to do to actually give it lines of sight to the port. So mistakes were made. But if anyone else has any suggestions, I'm always open and welcome to them. Just hit me up in the comments because I'm not going to get better without help. I'm not. People need to tell me what works for them and what doesn't, what they liked, what they hated. Any help is appreciated, folks. Anyhow, as always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching and have a good day.